Since childhood, the formula we're handed is simple. Work incredibly hard, and eventually you'll get rich. Yet, if you look around, the people putting in the most exhausting, physically demanding hours are rarely the wealthiest. This disconnect starts early. We grow up hearing phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, or cut your coat according to your cloth. Over time, these well-meaning warnings quietly wire our brains to view wealth through a strict lens of scarcity and limitation. Think of it like a broken financial GPS. This early conditioning locks our internal navigation system onto exactly one congested route to success: direct, grueling labor. Meanwhile, faster, highly efficient alternate routes remain completely hidden from our map. We inherit this generational myth that maximum physical effort is the only valid currency for success. Clinging to that belief creates a psychological barrier that prevents us from recognizing actual wealth-building opportunities. This slide shows the breakdown. Quantum manifestation coach Neha Kanabar suggests that high performers often struggle because they are operating within the wrong psychological framework. To see the impact of this framework, look at the global distribution of resources. Right now, 96% of the world's population controls just 4% of its wealth. Conversely, a tiny 4% of the population holds the remaining 96%. Kanabar argues this gap persists because of a core rule of manifestation. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Everything depends on your baseline identity. This suggests that the barrier keeping people out of that top tier is a misaligned internal identity, rather than a lack of work ethic or ambition. To identify where your specific friction comes from, you can use a diagnostic framework called the 3 money identities to evaluate your current operating system. This slide shows the breakdown. The first identity is the worker. This is the default setting, where a person believes, I earn if I work. Because income here is a one-to-one transaction of time for money, the earning potential is limited by the hours in a day. The second identity is the prover. This is a frequent trap for highly intelligent professionals. Provers associate their inherent self-worth with their paycheck, operating under the belief that they must constantly justify their existence and effort to deserve wealth. Operating as either a worker or a prover creates a hard ceiling on your finances. Both roles rely entirely on finite physical hours or an exhausting loop of external validation. These first 2 identities struggle because they confuse 2 distinct concepts: income and money. In this framework, income is a narrow, rigid stream of capital. It requires high friction because it is directly tied to your immediate physical output. Money, on the other hand, functions like an abundant energy, a byproduct that flows toward individuals who show up powerfully and confidently in the world. When high performers focus exclusively on maximizing their income, they develop tunnel vision. They lock themselves into that single, congested route on the GPS and overlook alternate, lower-friction avenues of wealth. Chasing income leads to constant grinding friction. Attracting money requires stepping back and adopting an entirely different operating model. That brings us to the identity used by the top 4%, the power player. Power players sever the link between their self-worth and their labor output. Their core belief is that wealth flows as a natural result of their identity. Look at the career of Amitabh Bachchan. When his production company went bankrupt years ago, he faced massive debt and a complete financial collapse. While he utilized his talent and industry standing to recover, his internal identity remained that of a power player throughout the crisis. He refused to adopt a victim mindset or downshift into the worker category, which allowed him to leverage his existing presence to rebuild. Because he never stopped seeing himself as a power player, he was able to guide his actions and connections to bring his external reality back into alignment with that baseline identity. To transition into the power player identity, a high performer must first understand the flow of value. Kanabar explains that money is a mapped numerical system that requires a balance between giving and receiving. If you subconsciously believe you do not deserve to receive, you effectively block the flow of money, regardless of the value you provide through your work. Moving past this block requires audacity. This is the bold belief that you inherently deserve wealth now, without needing to constantly validate your worth through suffering or excessive labor. This shift requires you to actively unlearn the scarcity conditioning from your past. You have to reprogram your internal financial GPS to stop prioritizing the most difficult, congested roads. Ultimately, true wealth creation requires the audacity to inhabit that power player identity daily, allowing money to flow as a result of who you are.